Hi everyone, Pastor Jimmy at Mount Pleasant Baptist Church. Going to continue our study on the prophecies of Christ's birth. This is actually video 4 of the series. In the first few videos, we looked at what prophecy is, we looked at why it's important for us to study it, and we began looking at the different prophecies that were made about Jesus Christ's birth. The way we've been looking at this in the study is we've been looking at what the Old Testament says, what the prophecy was. And remember, a prophecy is a statement or a promise made by God that he was going to fulfill in the future to work for man. And so we can see here as we study these prophecies, we've been looking at the Old Testament, what God said he was going to do. Then we've been going over to the New Testament and looking at how it was fulfilled in the birth of Jesus Christ. So we've seen how the prophecy was that he would be conceived and born of a virgin. We saw that fulfilled in the New Testament. We saw what genealogical line he would be in. We saw the exact birthplace that he would be born in. Today, as we continue this study, we're going to continue looking at the Old Testament, what it has to say about how Jesus will be born, where, and some other details about his birth. And then we're going to look at how those were fulfilled in the birth and the life of Jesus Christ. What we're going to look at first of all today is what happened a little after Jesus was born. So in the Bible, it says that he will be called out of Egypt. Well, this may not sound like a big deal, but if you go through and you look at the first few prophecies, first of all, we saw that Jesus, Mary and Joseph were from Nazareth, which was north of Bethlehem. But the Bible prophesied and said that he would be born in Bethlehem. Well, we saw how things worked their way out where Joseph, being in the line of David, had to be in Bethlehem. And that's where Jesus was born. But then as we look at the prophecy today, we're going to see that it said that the Messiah, this Son of God, would be called out of Egypt. So how do you get from Bethlehem to Egypt? So we want to look at that a little bit in this prophecy. First of all, to look at the Old Testament. In Hosea chapter 11, verse 1, the prophet said, "When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son." And so we see that he's going to come out of Egypt. But now if we go to Matthew chapter 2, we're going to see how he got into Egypt. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night, and departed for Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the Lord through the prophet, saying, "Out of Egypt I called my son." So what's going on here? What's happening here? Well, if you look in Matthew chapter 2, we see that Jesus was born in Bethlehem, and then we see that sometime later these wise men, the Magi from the east, came, and they came to see Jesus Christ. And we see that while they were there, they were given a vision and told not to go back the way that they came so they would not see King Herod. But we also see in this that Joseph in a dream was told to take the child and his mother and leave and go into Egypt because King Herod was wanting to destroy or kill the children, the child, the Messiah child, because he didn't want anyone else to be worshiping him. And so we see Joseph and Mary and baby Jesus, the child Jesus, leaving Bethlehem, going into Egypt to live until the death of Herod. So we see that how God's hand moving Mary and Joseph from Nazareth to Bethlehem before Jesus was born, for them to be in Bethlehem when Jesus was born, for them to stay a while there in Bethlehem and then go to Egypt for a while until Herod was dead, and then after that going back to Nazareth. So we see God's hand moving in all of this and directing all of this. And we see his prophecies being fulfilled in the most unlikely of ways. So the next thing we want to see kind of goes back to what I was saying about King Herod. King Herod was a jealous man. And he was afraid that this baby that was born is one that would be worshipped above him, and he in his own mind could not have that happen. And so we see that the Bible prophesied that there would be a massacre of children during this time by King Herod, by a king. And so we see that in Jeremiah 31. It says, "Thus says the Lord, a voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping, Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted for her children because they are no more." And so the children of Israel, these children that are being destroyed, these children that are being killed. And so we see Jeremiah prophesying about that. Then we can go over to Matthew chapter 2 and look what it says. Then Herod, when he saw that he was deceived by the wise men, was exceedingly angry. And he sent forth and put to death all the male children who were in Bethlehem and in all its districts, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had determined from the wise men. Then was fulfilled that which was what was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, a voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation, weeping, and great mourning. Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted because they are no more. So we see such a tragedy happening here. We see such a tragic time in the history here where King Herod went and had all the male children, 2 years old and younger, killed because he was such a jealous man, wanted power so much that he refused to have anyone else around that may be worshipped before him. We saw that God had called Jesus out of Egypt and called Jesus and his parents out of Bethlehem into Egypt because he knew this was happening. So once again, Old Testament shows us the prophecy. The New Testament shows us the fulfillment of these prophecies brought about around the time of Jesus Christ's birth. So as we continue to celebrate Christmas, as we continue to look at Christmas, I pray that by this time you're starting to see that nothing in our lives is by accident. Nothing in the life of Jesus Christ was by accident. It was all carefully planned out by God long before it actually came about. And so what we're going to see next in the next video, we're going to see how Jesus Christ's birth wasn't just for a specific group of people, but how it was prophesied and told that it would be for all of us. And then we're going to see one of the most unusual things is that it was told that kings, others would come and bow down before this child. And we're going to see how that actually happened, even though he wasn't born in the life of a king as you and I would see it.